There's an age that terrifies most men, an age when something inside a woman suddenly snaps. It usually happens between 35 and 40. Yesterday she was calm, stable, reasonable. And then, out of nowhere, she destroys the family, packs her things, and ends up in another man's bed. Every man who's seen it will tell you, it's chilling. Because when a young girl does something stupid, you can still explain it. She's immature, emotional, her head's full of noise. But when a 40-year-old woman with a child, stretch marks, and a grown life behind her throws everything away for a moment of madness, that's when even the sanest man whispers, "What are you doing? What's wrong with you?" The truth is, the crisis for most women begins around 35. That's when panic sets in, because she realizes it's her last chance to rise. At 20, 25, even 30, she can still feel important just by existing. Men notice her, compliment her, send hearts and likes. She puts on light makeup, wears something tight, and the world gives her attention for free. But at 35 and beyond, that stops. She looks back at her old photos and wants to cry. And nobody ever prepared her for this moment. Not her mother, not her friends, not society. Her whole life she was told, "You're special. You'll always be wanted." But modern women are trained to be beautiful, never to age. They were taught how to shine at 18, but not how to stay grounded at 38. When men stop looking, she doesn't know who she is anymore, and panic starts creeping in. That's where the mechanism of compensation begins. Some start flirting again, some chase validation from the first man who smiles. She pushes the pedal to the floor. "I want to feel alive, even if it's just one more time." You might think, "That's not my wife. She takes care of herself." But that's where you're wrong. It's not about how she looks. It's about what she's losing. When a millionaire loses half his fortune, you might say, "He's still rich. Why panic?" But inside, his world collapses, because he's no longer who he used to be. It's the same for a woman at 40. The problem isn't that she looks bad, it's that she looks worse than she once did, and that difference eats her alive. Even those who pour money and effort into their looks feel it the hardest. The more she invests in appearance, the stronger the fear becomes when youth fades anyway. She tried so hard, and still, it's temporary. That's when the madness begins. And there's only one thing that can soothe it: male attention. The spark in another man's eyes. Take my word for it. As long as your woman doesn't crave or invite that attention, you're safe. You can argue, stay silent for a week, break up and make up. That's all part of the same ship. But once she flirts with another man, smiles back at a compliment, even once, that's it. The ship has cracked, and it will never sail the same again. You've heard the saying that older women are the most desperate, the hungriest, the most eager. And as cruel as it sounds, it's true. When you tell a 20-year-old girl she's beautiful, she rolls her eyes and sighs. She's heard it 1,000 times before. But tell a 40-year-old woman the same words, and she lights up like she just touched electricity. Why? Because she's been starving for that feeling. She's been living on emotional scraps for years, and now she's terrified that her beauty's expiration date has passed. She'll say she's just looking for herself, but that's not true. What she's really searching for is proof. Proof that she's still wanted, that she can still make a man's pulse quicken. So when her husband says, "You're 42, we have kids, we have a home, where are you going?" she replies, "I just want to feel alive." That's not romance. That's panic disguised as freedom. She can work out, stretch, eat clean, but it won't fill that emptiness. Because the gym doesn't give attention. Men do. She needs external confirmation of her worth. Without it, she feels invisible. So she starts chasing the illusion again, the same one she lived for in her 20s. She tells herself, "I just want to have fun, feel young again." And here's the brutal truth. A woman who doesn't know how to age gracefully will eventually destroy everything that reminds her she's aging. Her husband, her family, even her children. She'll hate the mirror that shows new lines. She'll envy younger women who now get the looks she once owned. She'll avoid the word grandmother like it's a curse. Modern women were never taught how to age, only how to compete. Men grow older and accept it. They see gray hair as wisdom. But for women raised on validation, getting older feels like dying. And when that feeling hits, logic disappears. Her husband can give her comfort, help, and security, but none of it replaces the thrill of being desired. She doesn't want stability. She wants to be chased again. She wants to feel like a fantasy, not a wife. She wants someone to look at her and whisper, "You're unreal." That's what she's after. That's what she can't get from you. And that's why, deep down, she resents you. Because you remind her she's not 20 anymore. When a wife leaves a good man, it's rarely because of conflict or boredom. It's because she's trying to outrun time. He wants to save the marriage. She wants to escape the mirror. It reminds me of a strange picture I once saw. On one side of the street, a church. On the other, a brothel. Every day, the same people cross paths. Those walking into prayer look at the others with disgust, and those walking into sin look back with the same contempt. Each side thinks the other has lost their mind, and that's exactly what happens inside a collapsing marriage. The husband believes his wife is insane for throwing her life away, while she thinks he's the crazy one for choosing a life without passion. Two different worlds, two different gods. If a woman's identity was built on travel, parties, flirtation, fashion, and endless attention, then why be surprised when she loses her mind as all that fades? Her youth is gone, and with it, her meaning. From childhood she was told, live for pleasure, feel everything, enjoy life. Now she's 40, sitting at home, scrolling through photos of younger women and wondering where it all went. She's not chasing love anymore. She's chasing the last high before the silence. Because deep down, she feels it. The end of her youth, the end of being desired. That's when she tells herself, I have the right to one more adventure. I deserve to live before it's over. And here's the part no one talks about. The wildest, most destructive urges in women don't belong to teenagers. They belong to grown women with kids, mortgages, and a house full of photos they can't stand to look at anymore. Science even backs it up. After 35, the number of dopamine receptors in a woman's brain drops by nearly half. What once made her feel alive at 20 barely moves her at 40. When she was 19, a simple touch was enough to make her heart race. At 40, it's not. Now she needs chaos to feel something again. Something new, something forbidden. That's why so many long marriages fall apart quietly. Not because of money, not because of conflict, but because her body stopped responding to the comfort she once begged for. The same man who once thrilled her, now only irritates her. The same dinner, the same compliments, the same routine. It all feels lifeless. And what happens next is predictable. She starts looking elsewhere, not for love, but for stimulation. The first stage of betrayal doesn't start in the bedroom. It starts with a compliment, a smile from a stranger, a moment of attention she hasn't felt in years, and instead of deflecting it, she welcomes it. That's the beginning. Right there, when she lets the spark in, when she answers it with a glance, when she tells herself, it's nothing. That's not nothing. That's the door opening. Psychologists will tell you it's normal. They'll say every woman needs to feel beautiful. But that's exactly how betrayal gets disguised as therapy. They normalize the craving. They call it self-expression. They say, she just needs to know she's attractive. And in that single sentence, they justify the first step toward cheating. They've built a system where a man's hunger is called primitive, but a woman's hunger for validation is called emotional need. So she learns to seek microdoses of desire through comments, compliments, subtle glances. She starts depending on them the way an addict depends on the next hit. And if you think it's harmless, you don't understand how female psychology works after 35. Attention becomes oxygen, and the more she gets, the faster she suffocates without it. Studies even show that women over 35 cheat more often than men. Not because they're evil, but because they can't survive without being seen. A man ages and accepts it. He loses hair, strength, even confidence, and keeps moving forward. But But a woman raised on endless validation sees aging as erasure. She was built to be adored, not ignored. When you met your wife, you met her at her peak. Her beauty was currency. Her presence was power. She said she wanted stability, a family, peace, and maybe she believed that then. But she didn't realize how addicted she was to the world that once worshipped her. It's like an actor at the height of fame who says he wants to disappear from the spotlight. But when the applause stops, he can't breathe. At 25, she looked calm, ready for a family. At 40, when the attention fades, she panics. Because now, she finally feels the silence. You met her at the peak of saturation. You thought that peace was her nature, but the truth reveals itself when time strips away her youth. The wildest, most cynical betrayals come not from young women, but from those who realize that most of their meaningful years are gone. And when that truth sinks in, nothing can stop her from chasing one last illusion of being wanted. Not logic, not morality, not even the family she built. I've spoken with many women like this, and I can tell you one thing. They're terrified of a quiet life. They fear that the most exciting parts of their story are already over. She looks at her husband, stable, calm, predictable, and something inside her begins to itch. It's not that she stopped loving him, it's that she can't feel him anymore. Most of the time, the man has no idea what's happening. He thinks everything is fine. He provides, protects, helps. But she's suffocating, not from him, but from the lack of new emotion. 90% of these stories look the same. A man gives a woman safety, comfort, a home. He gives her his name, his child, his peace, and she gives him chaos in return, because peace is the one thing she was never taught to value. It doesn't happen overnight. It brews for years. Tiny cracks, small acts of curiosity, a message left unanswered, a compliment she secretly replays in her mind. Then one day, she meets another man, and the disaster that's been building finally explodes. The biggest mistake men make is believing that passion in the beginning will protect them in the end. They think if they give her magic at the start, the sunsets, the surprises, the rush, she'll later be content with routine. But that's not how human desire works. You can't feed a dopamine addict with one last feast and expect her to live on the memory. When the high fades, she'll crave it again and again. You can't train loyalty through pleasure. You only train dependence. So when you marry a woman addicted to excitement, be ready for the crash. Because one day, she'll run out of dopamine with you and go searching for a new source. I've seen men who gave everything: patience, love, comfort, forgiveness. And I've seen women walk away from all of it as if it meant nothing. The truth is simple. You can't teach integrity. It's either there or it's not. Some women stay faithful despite every temptation. They don't need applause or validation. They don't stay because it's convenient. They stay because their soul doesn't know another way. And others leave even when they have gold in their hands. They ruin something sacred because their emptiness is louder than love. So stop believing that goodness guarantees reward. The world doesn't operate on fairness. Being faithful doesn't make you immune to betrayal. It just means you chose decency in a crooked game. Do good not to receive it back. Do good because you can't stand being anything less. That's the only purity left in this world. You can be the perfect man and still be betrayed, and it won't change the odds by even 1%. There's a dangerous belief spreading today that there are no bad people, only misunderstood ones. That if two people just communicated better, every wound could be healed. Psychologists repeat it like gospel. Any relationship can be fixed if both sides try. But that's a lie, a comforting, profitable lie. I've seen it firsthand. A man comes to therapy shattered. His wife cheated, took the kids, burned the bridge behind her, and the expert across the desk tells him, "She didn't betray you. She just couldn't express her emotions." He sits there, broken, while the person he trusted to help him starts digging into his supposed mistakes. Did you ever raise your voice? Did you give her enough space? Did you create a warm emotional bubble? Imagine that. A man loses his home, his peace, his family, and now he's blamed for not being gentle enough with the woman who destroyed it all. It's madness dressed as empathy. Yes, communication matters, but not with someone who feeds on your guilt, not with someone who takes your kindness as weakness. Some women don't cheat because they were hurt. They cheat because corruption is already in them, because the line between right and wrong was erased long before you met them. There are women who stay loyal through storms, who have every reason to run, but don't. And there are others who leave perfect men just to feel a spark one more time. That's why I say this. A woman's loyalty can't be earned or bought. It's either in her or it isn't. Stop believing the fairy tale that good behavior guarantees good outcomes. Life doesn't trade in fairness. The cruel sometimes thrive. The kind often bleed. But that's not a reason to rot. You do good because it defines you, not because it protects you. So if betrayal ever breaks your world, don't go looking for logic in her lies. You'll never find it there. Evil doesn't need a reason. It only needs an opportunity. Whether a woman stays loyal or destroys her life depends on what her youth taught her. There are only two paths. The rare kind, the ones I've met only among deeply grounded women, learn early from pain. They make mistakes, yes, but those memories become scars, not trophies. They remember them with shame, and that shame becomes their compass. They would rather walk through fire than ever repeat the same mistake again. And then, there's the common path, the one most women take. Their eyes light up when they talk about their wild years. You'll hear it in their tone, the laughter, the sparkle, the pride. Oh, those were the days, the parties, the trips, the adventure. They talk about sin like nostalgia, and that's the warning. If she romanticizes her chaos, she's not healed. She's waiting to relive it. The past still owns her. So when you're with your woman, watch how she reacts to her own memories. If she laughs at them, she's still infected. If she looks back with disgust, you might have a chance. But if her eyes light up at the mention of the past, she's already halfway back there. Even a random moment can expose it. A familiar song, a passing scent, a stranger's glance that triggers an old fantasy. That's when you'll see it. That flicker of youth, that craving for the chaos she once called freedom. And here's the truth. Recognizing the disease isn't enough. You have to know how to treat it. And most men can't. Because you can't reason a woman out of her craving for the past. You can only observe, understand, and decide if you're willing to live with the risk. Some memories fade. Others whisper until they're answered. So if she still dreams of who she was, she'll destroy who she is. Remember this. Time tests everyone. Some women choose depth, others choose applause. If her worth depends on strangers, your future depends on luck. Don't bargain with luck. Watch her habits, not her words. If she feeds on attention, she will starve your home. If she honors silence, she can guard your peace. Be the man who won't trade dignity for dopamine. Choose a woman who won't trade vows for validation. Subscribe to Women Exposed. New truths drop next.